Welcome to the All Access Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Bruen. This week, a very special guest. He is one of the hosts of The Road Show, of course, host. And, you've been doing it for a long time, and you're still doing it. And you're still doing big things. You've got all kinds of things going on, even outside of The Road Show. So we're going to talk about that today. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Brendan Kirby.
Thank you, Joe. Tell the studio audience to knock it off. Come on, you're too kind. How's it going, buddy?
Very good, man. Good to have you here. Been waiting for this, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, I can hear the sincerity dripping from your voice.
It is. Yeah, it's a little moist, but we got some towels down. We're good.
Good. No, I'm very happy to be with you. And now, as I told you when we were in the virtual green room, look what I did for you. I went wrestling for you today because you and I are both fans. I don't have the collection that you do, but I'm like, which wrestling T-shirt should I dust off for the big interview with Joe? And I went with Stone Cold because you can't go wrong with him.
Hey, I appreciate the nod, so thank you for that, for sure.
Yeah, but this is great. I'm happy we could finally do it. And Joe, this is one of these rare occasions for me. Earlier today, we had the Road Show live from 9 to 10 a.m. on WPRI 12, and now I'm right here with you on your podcast. So this is one of those rare opportunities where I have the chance to disappoint two audiences in the same day. So I'm really excited about this.
And I'm happy to facilitate that for you. So.
Thanks for having me. It's very rare that I get invited anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you. But wanted to do this for a while. And, we just started the podcast about 3 months ago. And you were on that first initial list of, let's get you on the show. And I think, we kind of run in a lot of the same circles and, do some similar activities. So I think that, this will be good. So, rewinding to the very beginning, growing up as a child or young adult, what were some of your interests for the fans that aren't familiar with you, some of your hobbies and your introduction into the world of entertainment?
Oh, my goodness. Where do I even begin? Well, as a kid, should we start with my birth?
We could go over that process, but I think we're pretty familiar with it.
We have the footage. Roll it. No, I always loved entertainment. So that's kind of like where, you and I share that similarity. Before I even really understood any of the business of it or how I could potentially make a viable career out of it, I knew, Joe, that I just loved laughing. So when I was in school, my friends and I would just laugh at everything. I mean, everything was funny. Everything to me still is funny, within reason, right? But I just enjoyed silliness and absurdity, nonsense, just ridiculousness. I just loved it. And then I started discovering, the TV shows when I got to a certain age. I loved Seinfeld. I didn't really, when I was like 13, 14, whatever, I just thought George being upset was hilarious. The way Kramer entered the room was hilarious. And those things are still hilarious to me. But as I became an adult, or as close as I've become to one, I kind of started to really appreciate the storylines and the things. Obviously, the characters were kind of, they were dark in some respects, but the relationship stuff, I started appreciating it as an adult. But early on, I just got a kick out of the zaniness of the characters and whatnot. And then I discovered Saturday Night Live, and I loved, my mother loved The Church Lady, and I remember I didn't really understand what it was, but Dana Carvey was just funny doing that. And then I loved the Copy Machine guy. Those are my first memories of watching TV late into the night. And then I discovered the late night shows, and that was it. I loved Letterman. I just thought how silly he was, how absurd and ridiculous he was, the sharpness of his wit, his vocabulary. That was the show that really put me in this mindset of maybe I could be on TV. Maybe I could be one of those TV guys on the air, or I could be some kind of an entertainer. I knew I didn't want to be a stand-up comedian, even though I have done some stand-up, but I knew I wanted to be in some kind of comedic broadcasting situation. And that was basically it. I was just on that path from a very early age to somehow do something like this.
Let's talk about the Wicked Late Show. I mean, that was a part of your history, of course. You started that on public access with Cox Communications, was it?
Yeah. Did you have a public access show as well?
I did around the same time, probably. What year did you start
Well,
yours?
so this is more of like a support group then right now.
I think so. Yeah.
I was so obsessed with TV. I knew I wanted to be a host in some capacity, right? So I thought I'm somehow going to do it. Now, you asked what year, it was 2003, so it was before all this. So I had the iPhone 2, by the way. Um, there was no YouTube yet, right? There was no, you couldn't have your own channel. You couldn't have a social media following that just didn't exist yet. And that's fine. It all evolves. I get that. But the only way I really knew how to do it was, okay, I'm somehow going to have a show. I'm passionate about this. I probably have no business having a show, but we both know what was on public access. Well, why can't I? I've seen the other shows. I could do it. But I was very dedicated. And I knew that if I was going to take the time to go down to this studio every week or every month or however frequently I did it, I was going to make sure it was a cut above. I was going to make sure that it was polished. I was going to make sure that it was a nice presentation. And even though it may have been on a channel that isn't really known for polish or, stellar first rate production, because, some of those shows are a little, people just, they don't put a ton of time, and that's fine. You do it any way you want it. I wanted mine to kind of stand out a little bit, whether it did or not, I don't know, but in my mind it did. And I just wanted to be a comedy writer as well. I kind of thought maybe I could be a writer for Letterman or Conan or one of those shows because I really liked writing jokes and conceptualizing things and putting scripts together that would work as bits or special cold opens or whatever. So because I had an ability to write, I was actually writing the show. I wasn't just setting up a camera and talking about whatever. I would have a monologue, I would have jokes, I would have pre-produced bits, I would have field pieces that I did. It would be very structured and polished, and there would be a rundown and a whole system in place that I thought made it stand out a little bit. No, we didn't have a big budget or anything, but the jokes were pointed. They were good for how old I was at the time. My writing has certainly evolved, but I thought that it was well written, it was good, and I started that show when I was at Rhode Island College. It was an independent study project. So I had interned for Letterman when I was in college, which was just the greatest experience because that was my favorite show. And armed with everything I learned when I was there, I said, I'm going to do this. And I pitched it to my professor at the time. I had one semester left before graduating, and they, the department approved it. I don't know why, but they did. All jokes aside, they allowed me to have that experience. And my assignment was to create the show and to produce it and to do it. And I did, and I got credit for it. It was a ton of work though, right? Doing a show like this, anyone who's in any kind of format like this where they put shows on knows just how much goes into it.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, when it was over with, like, oh my God, I did this all by myself. I had some friends helping me, but I thought I'm done with this. But then I thought, no, you want to have a show, you're dedicated. So then I came back a few months later, and it was basically on, Joe, with an original fresh run episode every month for 8.5 years, and we made like 93 of those. So it was a nice run. And you know what it did? It got me in front of the camera. It got me comfortable. It taught me how to produce, how to edit myself, how to do all the things you need to do to put a show on. So I felt that if I was doing it every day, even though it wasn't my number one job, I felt that if and when the time came for me to have an opportunity like the one I had, like the one I currently have, who wouldn't want this guy, right? Because he's custom built, he's ready to go, he has the experience, and I felt that in some way I was setting myself up for the success later, which I now kind of have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, I mean, if for nothing else, it was that tool to bring you to the next step, and it certainly has. And, look at all that you've done since then, and, I started my show with Cox Cable in 1998, fresh out of school. And, I would do wrestling interviews in studio. I would, edit the show. I had no idea what I was doing when it came to editing, and I learned on the fly. I would take, rent out the camera equipment. They would allow you to, sign off on it, and I would
Oh yeah,
edit. I was like, oh my gosh, this is some expensive stuff at that time,
and they're letting
1998.
you take it out.
They're letting me take it out, and I'm bringing it to these local wrestling shows, filming the shows. And, because of this equipment, it gave me the opportunity to do that at the shows. And ultimately, it turned into me kind of falling into ring announcing, which was a passion for me. And I did that for 10 years, and I I gotta thank the show for allowing me to do that.
Isn't it amazing how one thing leads to another? I mean, it's
Yeah.
so cliche, but this begets something else, and then you're going down this hallway, and then you run into this. Hey, we need an announcer, and now you're plugged into that world, and now you can make connections there, and
Right.
do a good job, and be professional, and have some professional integrity, and be counted upon in terms of showing up, like I said, on time, being there, honoring the commitment. Then they realize, hey, this guy's great, and then it leads to something else. But it's all because you took that first step.
Yeah. And I don't know how it is nowadays. I don't really follow it, but public access, back in that era, a lot of the shows you'd see on there, like you kind of mentioned, a lot of the personalities and the hosts were they had the personality of wallpaper, and it just wasn't for me. But there were a couple of things I'd tune into here and there. But then I caught your show. I caught eye of that when you started in 2003, and watched it as often as I could because thoroughly enjoyed that show and the format. And like you said, it was you put a lot into it. It wasn't just one of those cheesy shows. I mean, it came off professional, and I always enjoyed the guests you had in studio because I was doing the same type of thing, obviously on the wrestling side. But you had a lot of news anchors or weather related people or whoever it may be, and I always had an interest in that side of things too. Who are some of the guests that you brought into studio that if you can remember?
Well, that was always the thing. I wanted us to have uh, big Rhode Island names, right? I mean, it's not like Tom Hanks was coming through Providence or big time celebrities were rolling through town, but I wanted the local people that would be well known. The first guest was Patrick Little, with whom I now work at WPRI, but I had been his intern. I had interned in the WPRI 12 sports department in like 2002. So then when I launched my show the next year, I'm like, please, we need somebody. We need a guest. And all I could do was just ask. And he was so kind and he did that for me. And I never forgot that. And then he was the final guest when I was wrapping up kind of bookend it like
Oh,
that. But
wow.
in between, man, we really lucked out. We had, the late great Doug White. Remember Doug White, NBC 10?
Absolutely.
And that was super cool because my father kind of knew him, and he put the word in and tell Brendan to call me. And I did, and I'm like, as a 21, 22 year old. I'm on the phone with Doug. Like, this is super cool. Like, even though news wasn't like the thing I loved, I still appreciated his um, not only celebrity status, but his the rarefied air he occupied in terms of the broadcasting landscape in Rhode Island. He was a big deal, right?
He
So it was
was.
super fun to be on the phone with him. I was like, oh, tell me about the show. And so he came on like our fifth or sixth show. The first one, Patrick Little, and then like Giovanni and Kim and Will, they were all on 92 Pro FM at the time because I had also worked with them. But then I'm like, all right, I've now exhausted all the favors I can. Like that, those are the only people I know so far. So part of me was like, I've got to start getting some local names to lend credibility to the show because once you get like a big person, right, then you can use that as leverage for future guests. And
Yeah.
that's when Doug White said yes. Then I could, when I would pitch it to new people, hey, we've had Doug White, we've had Steve Avison, who was on WPRI at the time. All everyone was pretty much on it. Tony Petrarca did it. Mike Montecalvo, Dan Janig. Uh, I don't know. Now it's so long ago, and I'm so old. But we had a
Did
lot
you
of
have Glenn
people.
Giorgi?
Giorgi was on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
did.
Um,
Gene Valicenti, maybe?
Gene won't return my calls to this day.
Ah, Gene.
No, Gene was never on. I did get to know Gene in recent years. He's a really nice guy. He was never on. But we had some great people, and it taught me, Joe, it was like on the job training, right? I just like learned how to do interviews, how to put segments together, and how to incorporate like jokes and do bits with the guests. And Sean Tempesta was on. He was like the first roadshow co-host, and
Wow.
he was on with me. And he and I are still friends, and we would have like comedian. I've always been a big advocate of comedians and the arts. So tons of stand-ups, local comedians were on, and it was just a great place to operate. It was like, I get it. Now it's different. You can just plug in, you can go on your Instagram, and that's cool. But to me, like when I was doing it, you had to put some time in. You really had to show up, get the gear, take it out, go somewhere. And I'm really proud of the hustle.
And do you still have all of those shows to this day? Like, if you wanted to put them on YouTube or something like that?
The government stepped in and mandated that I burn all of the
Okay,
show.
I could see that happening. Yeah, that's
No, I've got them somewhere around here. Yeah,
yeah,
some of the stuff's out there, some of it isn't. But actually, recently, our final show is on there in its entirety, and it was really good.
yeah, yeah. You should get that stuff out there because I think fans would enjoy seeing that. I certainly did.
Thanks. Yeah, so that was a great, and that's it's funny that you would bring this up and that I bring up how it's all changed because against their better judgment, young people today still come to me for advice. And when they do, I use Wicked Late as the example, even though it's not the same as it was. The idea is still applicable. Do the thing you want to do. It's not the same way I did it, but just start a channel. Like just start doing it consistently because if you're passionate enough about it and you stick with it, it will most likely, nothing's guaranteed, right? It will most likely lead to something. But you've got to be passionate though, right, Joe? You can't I there's a lot of people that are just, "Oh, I'm going to have a show," and then it kind of doesn't really go anywhere because I don't think they understand the full commitment that it takes if you want to make it great and if you want to be great too. And so the principle still applies. Get in front of the camera, or if you want to be just a writer, just write as much as you can because all of that is adding to. You ever hear the expression how you have to put in your 10,000 hours?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people know that one. You're just do it, put the time in, and you'll find your way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I experienced that myself. I mean, doing usually I film 2 to 3 episodes a day, you know what I mean? And I've only done this podcast for 3 months now, and we've pumped out about 120 episodes.
Wow.
So, it's all about staying busy but I love every minute of it. It's the passion, so it's all it's not work to me. It's fun.
That's great. And am I guilty of the thing here that everyone does? You've got a nice straight on shot like this. I'm doing this. I'm just looking at my hair the whole time. I hope that's not a problem.
You look fine. You look good.
And I'm
Dressed to
trying to
impress.
I'm trying to see what's behind you because that looks like an old KB toy store.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we've we got all the OG turtle figures. I'm a big turtle collector and physical media I'm a big fan of. You might be able to see the wall of
Oh
physical
yes,
media. So, yeah,
very
I'm
cool.
the wife and I both like physical media. We're both into movies, so yeah,
Nice.
big into it.
And
Uh-oh,
now
now I'm
I've
going.
ruined the whole show by making you mess
So
with the camera.
there we go. We're back. We are live. No, we're
That's not
not
true.
live. Okay, we're
I
back.
ruined I ruined the show by showing up. Thank you.
That is not true at all. But let's talk about the road show. This is probably not going to air for about a week or two, but today, the 17th anniversary, and you know, you and I don't think we planned it accordingly. We didn't know that it was going to be filmed today, but the 17th anniversary of the road show. You've been there for 13 of those years. Let's talk about it. What's that experience like when you first, became a part of the show? What that was like, and that initial feeling.
Well, that's interesting. I'd like to go into that, but I understand we're out of time. No,
We are.
I. It's funny to think about that because it's been so long now. I mean, the show has been on now for 17 years, starting in '09. And like you just said, this is now my 13th year. And the anniversary of the show itself just kind of creeps up every year, right? We're in like middle February now. And, January is always a nightmare with the cold and the snow. And then boom, it's February. Oh my God, we're celebrating another year.
Yeah.
So it seems unfathomable that it's still going, but it is still going. And everyone knows it across the state. It's still so popular and it has afforded me so many opportunities. But the fact that I've been doing it for so long is it gives me pause for thought because at some on some days it's difficult to remember like that first day walking in, but then there are other days where it of course seems like yesterday, right? And I had been doing Wicked Late for those 8.5 years, and I decided to end it because I moved out to LA to see what I could find in California. I thought, let's at least try this and see if I could get my foot in the door in TV. And I had a couple of behind the scenes jobs, but ultimately I missed home and I still wanted to be on a daily talk show. And I remember when the road show started thinking to myself, that could be a good fit for me because, Wicked Late wasn't paying the bills as much as I loved doing it. And I thought, I think that show might be right because I never wanted to be a newsman. I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in being an entertainer and a performer in a talk show capacity and a comedian as well, allegedly. But I thought that might be a good fit for me. So I sent in an audition tape because at the time they were looking for new hosts, and I got this call back, and I just had this feeling that I was going to get it, and I ended up moving home, which was great. And I just do remember, Joe, when I was in the final. There was like a round of five of us, and it was tough because I am a silly guy. I talked about the absurdity, and I love just getting on TV and being funny and being sort of attempting to be and just being silly and being that way. But I thought to myself, I don't know, you might not want to go too overboard with this audition. Maybe they're not looking for a comedian right now. Maybe they want someone who's a little more serious but can also be light. And it was tough for me to figure out how to approach that because
Yeah.
I didn't want to give the opportunity away because I acted it in a manner. But then I thought to myself, you can't think that way because you have to be who you are. And even if they know what they're looking for, and if you're good enough, they'll probably realize, yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for. But at the end of the day, I realized I just have to be myself, right? And so going in there, I was pretty silly in my audition. And then when I got the job, day one, I remember being like, all right, this thing has been going on now for a few years before you got here. It's already rolling down the track. You're hopping on. Now you can help accelerate it and you can help make it better and infuse it with your personality, which I know that I have. And I've led to a lot of my ideas and things I've brought to it have changed it, I think, for the better. Not a 180, but they've enhanced it, is what I'm trying to say. But I was kind of nervous at the beginning that I was going to make a mistake and they were going to think we've got the wrong guy. He doesn't know how to do that. He's too funny. So I was very nervous at the beginning, but now I've been doing it for so long that everyone kind of knows my act. Not everyone. There are still new people who don't know who you are, of course. So that's why it's always good to promote what you're doing. But by now I'm kind of locked in and people for the most part know what I bring to the table and I'm very comfortable. But that doesn't mean I'm complacent. I'm always trying to write the next great open or book the next great guest and not only book them, do something fun with them or write a bit that's going to be awesome that I can't wait to unleash on the audience. So going in, I was nervous because I wanted them to just be proud of the decision. I wanted them to realize, hey, we did something good here. We've got a good guy that's dedicated, that has that professional respect and integrity, and that is going to be held to know he's going to be held accountable, and that is going to do a good job every day. But it was nervous. It was nerve wracking, and I was nervous at the beginning because I'm a perfectionist. I just want things to be great.
And at what point did you, finally start to feel at home? Like, okay, this has been great. I'm going to stick with this, and your comfort zone. When did that kick in?
That's a good question. I mean, I excellent question. Yeah, I like a good question. Good work. I would have to say maybe the second year. No, it was probably during the first year. But you know what a cold open is in television?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those unfamiliar, it's a little like piece of material, or it's something that opens the show that's not the theme song. So it's like a piece of video or something that transpires. And I always felt like the late night shows do them all the time. SNL has one every week, which ends with Live from New York, right? I always thought that our show lent itself beautifully to that type of thing. And I remember when I started pitching those and they were into it. Producers were like, yeah, that's fun. And then I realized, okay, they're now understanding that I bring a lot to the table and they're now kind of giving me that leeway to allow me to be myself and to allow me to do these things that I mean these are conceptualizations. There are some people on this planet who are professional writers who are in the Writers Guild of America who I'm doing the same thing they're doing, but I have that writing talent. So and the roadshow allows me to do it. And the fact that they opened that door for me and allowed me to start infusing it with that kind of stuff, that kind of was like the door being kicked ajar and me realizing, oh, okay, yeah, they want what I have to offer and just do more of that.
Why don't you tell us about the legacy of your father and what, when you got the road show, what his reaction was to it all?
He said, great. Now you can embarrass us every morning on TV. He was elated. I It was a struggle for me to get where I am. Not and it's not because you don't have the ability. It's not because you're not talented. Sometimes, Joe, the timing just isn't right. I mean, you know this.
Yeah.
Anyone who's lived enough life understands that sometimes it's just not gonna. go the way you want it to right away. And when I was in LA, I was, knocking on doors. I was showing up places, acting like I had an appointment. I didn't. But I was trying anything to just try to get noticed. I was sending out DVDs and like reels of my best of, and just, I was trying everything. And I actually that was 2012, 2013 when I lived out there. And I was actually just telling someone the story the other day. I worked behind the scenes for some reality TV productions. I hated it, but it was paying the bills, right? And in Los Angeles, the way it worked at the time, and it may still work this way to a certain extent, is you make a pilot for your show, and then maybe it gets picked up, or maybe it gets picked up for 6 episodes, then it goes away. You're between shows, so it's very sporadic. The work can be intermittent, as we all know. So I was, the show I was with ended, and I was looking for something to do, and I saw an open audition for they were looking for tour guides at Universal.
Mm.
And I thought, that would be good. I like being up there in front of everyone, and I have the personality for it. And that might be, maybe I'll meet like some cool people there. So I showed up at this, it was like a Holiday Inn in North Hollywood, where they had this open casting call, and it was cutthroat. I mean, you want to talk about, everyone wants this gig. I want to get discovered, right? I want everyone to know who I am. I'm going to catch my break. And I remember, like, I did very well. Like, I was one of the last people remaining in the room, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to get this. And my dad's like, you're going to get discovered. This is going to be great. And then I just didn't end up getting it. They went like in a different direction. And then there was this other thing. I flew to Chicago for some audition, and I'm like, I'm going to get this. This is the one. They needed like hosts for this sports thing. And I didn't get that one either. And I mean, I really was hustling. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, what is this? I'm a furnace of ambition. I love this. I'm so passionate. I'm ready to go. What's going on? And to keep hearing no is very challenging, but it's, with time and with wisdom comes the understanding that, like I said, sometimes it's just not the right timing. So when I finally got the roadshow, you could see in the background, they had this big reveal episode where they announced that I had, won this job. And my father he's euphoric. He's ecstatic in the seat. And I remember when I was up for the job, they had us do our own assignments. They had us put segments together. They had us like do these things. And one of them was like, what would you bring to the roadshow? And I was like, I'll bring my friends. And I had them be like, you're paying us for this, right? I'm like, no. And they ran out. Like, I had all these little things that I would bring. And I said, I'll bring my dad. And he was right next to me, and he doesn't say a word. And I just had him hold up this sign that with like a disgusted look on his face. And it just said, he needs a job. And that got a great laugh. And he was supportive, but he was just so happy, Joe, because he knew how hard I had been working. And my dad was a singer and a musician and a choir director. He loved performing. So I got a lot of that from him. And my mom is really funny. Like, she was a teacher for years, and she's really witty. Her classroom was her performance stage. So I really got the best of my parents. And so they were just so happy that I finally got a chance to do the thing I wanted to do.
Right.
Look, how many people in their lives make a concession, right? And they don't end up doing what they wanted to do. I get to do it, and I'm super proud of that. I think they were happy. Like, not only is he doing it, but he's earning a living at the same time.
And not everybody has the support of their parents. So to have that support, it certainly leads you to success a little easier, because you just,
Yeah.
you had ease and you have it.
There were some challenging times. There were times where it was not so easy, but ultimately the hard work paid off, the persistence. And I think that's just, like, hard work never goes out of style, right? Just keep
Mm.
trying.
Let's talk about your co-hosts on the road show, Audrey McClellan, Will Gilbert. Obviously Will's been there longer with you. You guys have some great chemistry. It comes off that way on television. Why don't you tell us about both of them, and Michaela Johnson, your former co-host as well, and what the experience has been like working with the three of them?
They've all committed mail fraud. Did you know that? So stupid. No, they're all great, and we have a wonderful chemistry. Laughing is what we do. The current team. This is Audrey's 4th year now, so
Wow.
Will, Audrey, and I have been together. This is our 4th year together, and she fit right in. She is so authentic. Like, she is just. like, she's just so likable. She's just so affable, and she has a great work ethic. She and I really connect over that. We have a very high standard. We both really respect work and doing what needs to get done. She and I really share a bond there, and we've become great friends. You know, we're both from the East Bay, so we have a lot of the references in common there. And she just fit right in. She can roll with the punches. She just has a natural authenticity to her that I think really fits in beautifully with the show. And Will and I, we met at a mixer. No, we met when I was working at 92 Pro FM. He was the executive producer of Giovanni and Kim. And I worked there for a while when I was in college, and that's how I got to know him and Gio and Kim, of course. And he was Will was always very supportive of Wicked Late. He was a guest on it. That's another one.
Oh, wow.
And whenever I had one of my big ideas for like a cameo or some bit idea, he was always willing to help if he was available. And I like to say he's like my biggest fan. He really is. You know how I am with the one-liners and the jokes on the air. I can always count on his laugh. You know, and he's really been a big supporter of mine. Even when I went out to California, I remember he wished me well, and then lo and behold, all these years later, like I'm up for the job to work with him, and he and I had that built-in chemistry. We had that built-in friendship, and Will is just like me. He's a student of broadcasting. You know, he and I love Howard Stern. Like we love the history of late night TV. I can talk to him about Johnny Carson's Tonight Show because I've read every book about that. Or he loved that I worked for Letterman. Like we really share a bond of like television broadcasting history and that kind of thing. And he's just a blast on the air, like Audrey. They're both a lot of fun. And Michaela, who we miss so much, she'll always be our friend. I'm still in touch with her. We had many great years together. I think she and I and Will were together for like eight or nine, and
Yeah.
that's very rare in local TV, right? And I guess maybe it's just because it's a Rhode Island thing, Joe. You know, everyone's like so provincial. Everyone's from here. The old adage, they don't leave. But you know, why would I go when I have something going on and that I love, and my family is here too. So the fact that we had that many years with Michaela, and now we've had this many with the current team, I think it's just a testament to our passion, to our love of it, our love of the state, our love of broadcasting, entertaining, doing the show. And I've been lucky to work with these great co-hosts.
And when it comes to the Wicked Late Show, we spoke about some of the great local guests that you've had, but obviously the Road Show has brought that to the next level, and you're able to, interview people from all over, all walks of life, celebrity. Who has maybe some of your favorite guests been that you've interviewed on the Road Show specifically?
Well, oh my goodness, this is a great one. When I was a kid, I would watch Letterman do interviews, and whenever anyone would ask him this, he would never be able to. Oh, like, and I was like, how does he not know? Well, now I understand because when you're fortunate enough, as I am, or somebody is who's in a position where they do get to talk to some pretty prominent figures, or even just local people who aren't really big celebrities who just made an impact on you that their story really resonated. It's tough to pinpoint it because they're all unique in their own way. But the ones to me that have the most meaning, like I was being interviewed by somebody, last year, and they were asking something similar as a host is wont to do, of course. If you had told me, Joe, when I was, 18, that I would have interviewed members of Metallica, as you can see here, I mean, that's my favorite band since I was a kid. And I now have sat down with 3 out of the 4 members. I still can't believe I've done that. And the first one was with Kirk Hammett, lead guitarist, and I did that. I did that one on location in Minneapolis. I've seen Metallica a lot of times. So when I was going to Minneapolis in 2016, it was my 30th time seeing them, and I had made some inroads. I found, out being in media, you learn how to do a pitch, right? And I pitched it, and they went for it. And then the next year, Metallica came to Gillette, and I interviewed Lars, and I really wanted to sit with James Hetfield, and I finally got that done last year, and that was like probably the moment for me. To be able to have, I was only supposed to have 15 minutes with him. He gave me like 30. I mean, we just hung out together, just talking. I was telling him about my guitar playing, and I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, I am hanging out with James Hetfield. And I remember like the cameraman for our show, Eric, and our editor, he's so talented. He came, we did the James Hetfield interview in Philadelphia last year on Memorial Day weekend. Eric came down to shoot that for me because I wanted him to do it. You know, you want your right hand man there. And dude, he's setting up the lights in the room, and we're in this tiny little room. It's like it looks like a prison cell, like under
Yeah.
Lincoln Financial Field. But I'm like, I don't care where they put us. We're doing this. And I look out the door and I see the back of James Hetfield just walk by, and I'm like, oh my god, he's waiting to talk to me. Like, what? This is nuts, right? So that was just a big deal because I'm very passionate about Metallica. So the ones that have the most meaning to me are those. Uh, I got to sit with Drew Barrymore. As you many know, my friend Julie and I co-authored the Seinfeld, the official cookbook. That was a fun
Yes.
project we did a few years ago. And like a lot of the shows at the time, like when it was coming out, like CBS's early show, like Gayle King was holding it up, Drew Barrymore was holding it up, and I'm like, oh my god, that's her book. And so the next day on the road show, I got right at the camera and I said, that's it, Drew. I'm coming on your show. Like I just like hammed it up like I do. Dude, by the next day, they had contacted, they had seen it, and they were inviting Julie and me on her show. And we went
Wow.
on. Not only were we guests on the show, but because Drew at the time was on one of our affiliates, I presume she still is. I'm pretty sure she is. But because she was on one of our stations, we asked if it would be okay if once out my guest spot on her show was done, would she hang around and let me interview her for the road show? And she
That's
did.
right.
And so it was awesome. And she was so sweet. But this is kind of like dovetails back or wraps back around to kind of what I was driving at, Joe. It's like the Drew Barrymore interview and appearance on her show, that was like a couple of years ago now. By that point, I had already been doing this for so long that I wasn't intimidated at all by that. So we did that interview on her set. Her team rolled on it. They produced it, they directed it, her control room did it, and I only had one shot at it, and I just nailed it because I was ready because I had put in the time. And
Yeah.
that's something I like to stress to people. And so that was a big one. Um, some of the wrestlers that we've had. Cody Rhodes came into the Roadshow studio, which was
Oh,
awesome, and we had such a great interview. And he came on a few years after my dad had passed, and obviously the wrestling fans know Cody's dad, Dusty Rhodes, of course. But for the non-wrestling fans, his father was a wrestling legend. I know you know this, but during the interview, I when we were live on the air, I mentioned that I had, lost my dad recently. And he perked right up, Joe. He was already paying attention to me, but I could tell that really landed with him. And we shared a really nice moment about our dads on the show. So that was extra special too.
yeah.
And the stunts as well. Like it was the Roadshow's 15th anniversary, of course, right around this time 2 years ago. And the creator and the writer in me is always coming up with something. So I wrote a song about the 15th anniversary, and I'm like, we need a big chorus to sing it. And I found I was asking her, I didn't know who to ask, and someone suggested the Rhode Island Gay Men's Chorus. They knocked it out of the park, Joe. And so that day that the show opens with this chorus singing this song I wrote, and I'm like, this is really cool. Look what I made. Like,
Yeah.
look what I did here. And so it is fun in a situation like this to look back at some of those moments, whether it's a guest or a fun moment that I wrote and then produced, and really be proud of it. Cause I do think it's all about the work, but man, it's tough when you ask about the guests. It's tough because
Yeah.
there's been a lot of them.
And you guys have promoted Rhode Island Comic Con obviously many times, them being a big part of the Rhode Island scene, and sometimes you'd interview guests on there as well. What are some of your memories of Rhode Island Comic Con? Any that you've maybe attended or whatever it may be?
I think the first year I was thrown out. Yeah, they caught me
Oh no,
stealing
that
all.
was last year. Last year. Yes.
Yeah, they caught me not paying for my Mountain Dew.
Oh
It
man.
was it was I'm so blown away by that event, and it's great that you invoke Comic Con because Lou Ferrigno was one of my interviews early on, and he was a lot. I'm like got these little arms, and he's like going up, and like we had a great moment together. And Stan Lee came on our show. Will handled that interview, and he was on cloud nine because he loves Marvel and Stan Lee, and so Will had that opportunity through Comic Con, of course. But yeah, I love that it's grown. I mean, I have friends that have gone to San Diego Comic Con, and they come to like that one predates ours, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Right.
know the years, but they used to go to that one every year, and a buzz had started to be created amongst the Comic Con fans. Hey, there's a really great one in Rhode Island, and now it really has become like one of the premier cons in the country, and there's a buzz about it. I had a buddy of mine who lives in San Francisco. He came to ours last year, so I just love seeing the spirit of everyone having fun and kind of getting a moment with their favorite star. I think that's a special connection, and I love that we have one here of that magnitude.
Yeah, and Comic Con's nice. I mean, it's got something for everybody. If you love comics, plenty of comics. If you love pop figures or merchandise, they've got it. I'm more of a celebrity enthusiast, so
Yes,
I feel like Rhode Island is stronger than most cons when it comes to celebrities. I mean, the array of talent that they have there, they have to put it in two buildings, So it's always a great lineup, and I look forward to seeing their announcements. And they do such a good job. Obviously everybody's got their kinks early on because you're growing, and they've multiplied into three locations. Oh, they have the Omni next door for
right.
the Q&As, but they're always expanding, always coming up with new ideas, and I just love everything Rhode Island
I
Comic.
went. I went to the Back to the Future panel. That was awesome
Yes.
because that's my favorite movie. And to see them up there was just the coolest.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, actually, that was my next question. When it comes to film, what would your Mount Rushmore of film be? Top four of all time, any era?
Oh, so are we talking my favorites or what I think are the best ever?
You could look at it either way. I
Mm.
guess personal favorites.
And we don't have to go into a certain genre here. I can combine all genres.
Any genre.
All right, I'm gonna say my 4 favorite movies. Oh, I wasn't ready for this, you bastard. Back to the Future. Um, oh, man. I guess this could change any day, right? Back to the
Sure.
Future will always be on the list. I'm gonna put Uncle Buck up there.
Yes. Yes. All right.
Fantastic. My friends and I are still quoting that to this day.
We just had Pooter the Clown on the podcast. It was
Get out of
fantastic.
here.
Mike Starr, he was here, and I couldn't have been happier. I mean, Uncle Buck, one of my all-time favorites.
Maybe I'll put Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yes.
Just because that came up top of mind. And then maybe The Burbs.
Another good
I,
one, Tom
I,
Hanks.
that just had its anniversary the other day, and another buddy of mine, we always quote these movies to this day.
Yeah,
But tomorrow I might tell you, that it's Christmas Vacation,
right.
and look, The Godfather is amazing. How can we not
Absolutely.
love those? But I like silly things, I like nonsense, and I like the comfort of the nonsense. So
Yeah.
I would probably say those. And if it's, I love White Men Can't Jump. I'm a huge basketball fan, but no, we'll stick with those first 4: Back to the Future, Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and The Burbs.
When you're an enthusiast of film, it's hard to narrow it down to four. And like you said, it can change any day, but it's fun to talk about.
If I were to ask you today, like what would yours today be?
Goonies is always my number one. I'm
Okay.
a massive Goonies fan. Uncle Buck is number two, without a doubt. I kind of count Lord of the Rings trilogy as one. Lord of the Rings, I'm a huge fan of. So I would throw that on there. Number four, nobody's ever asked me what my Mount Rushmore. Number four would be man, that is tough.
The audience waiting with bated breath.
You know, taking a page out of your book, it might be Planes, Trains. We watch it every year, and it's
Right?
just a great film from start to finish.
It really is perfect, and
Simple.
it's just
Yeah.
the right time, the right tone for Thanksgiving. I love it.
Love me some Steve Martin.
Mm.
Now on the flip side of that, Mount Rushmore for pro wrestling. Obviously,
Oh
you grew up
no!
enjoying it. You grew up enjoying it, like
Oh,
a lot of people do. And again, it could be any era. Pro wrestling. Who would it be for you?
my favorites. This guy's right on there.
There he is.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker. God, I want to say Razor. I want to say Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, but you know what? He's going to go up there. I was obsessed with him early on, so we're going to go
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker. I'm just saying Razor Ramon. I know he was Scott Hall. I appreciated the NWO run, but when he was Razor in the WW at the time I was obsessed with him. And my fourth one, I'll probably go Shawn Michaels.
Nice.
I love HBK's matches. Like, it's ridiculous. It's tough for me not to put Bret on there because I love Bret Hart as well. So
Absolutely.
this is why it's a good question, right?
Right. Exactly. Now, when it comes to advice, what's the best piece of advice you'd say that you'd ever received?
Avoid podcasts hosted by guys named Joe. No,
Oh,
I I think it just kind of goes back to what I've been you know reiterating and underscoring throughout this time with you. I just hard work, I think, is really always the answer. I think, just do the thing you're passionate about. And eventually, if you want something bad enough, it probably will happen again. No guarantees, but just if you keep your head down and you have professional respect for people and you show up on time and you do what's asked of you and you make yourself valuable, whether it's in the workplace or just to your community, if you're consistent and you put in the effort, I think really great things can happen for an individual. I mean, even something as simple. I mean, I started taking guitar lessons about 5 or 6 years ago. I stuck with it, Joe. I'm not bad. I'm
yeah.
not the greatest, but I'm pretty good at it now. I'm not awesome, but it's because I stuck with it, right? Anything you know, worth your time to you personally, I think, deserves your respect. So you just got to stick with it in life. And I'm hardly an expert. I get bogged down by stuff all the time. I become defeated. But that's why I think what I do for a living is so perfect for me because if I do something, that was not good. Well, guess what? We're doing another one tomorrow, and I can get right back to work immediately and start coming up with something that I'm excited about again. And it's all about, that forward momentum. It's great to look back and to be proud of what you've done. But if you could just keep your head down and keep moving, great things can happen. And I invoked, the Metallica thing. But like, if you had told me when I was a teenager that I said this to someone else recently too during an interview. If you told me when I was 15, I would be interviewing Metallica members, I would have written Seinfeld's The Official Cookbook that Jerry himself signed off on, and that I would work for the Letterman show, I'd be like, I'm going to do all that stuff. And I did do them. And I made them happen, and through hard work, right. And through being consistent and through being respectful. So, the big stuff is attainable if you're willing to put the work in.
And within the entertainment industry that you're a part of, what would you say is the greatest challenge been so far for you?
That's a good one. I think I that's ever evolving as well. I think understanding things aren't always going to go your way. You're not always going to get the thing's not always going to turn out perfectly, but more often than not, it probably will if you go about it in that respectful manner. So just be prepared for the setbacks, be prepared for stuff to not always go perfectly right. And also be prepared to, encounter ego and stuff like that. I mean, that's show business. I don't care if it's at the top level or the local level. Like, you're going to meet some interesting people along the way. And you're not going to gel with all of them. But what matters is how you handle yourself and you being a good person. But yeah, they don't really prepare you for everything that's going to come with this,
Yeah.
even at the local level. But at the same time, it's all good. I've got health, I've got good family and friends, and I get to do something that I love. And it's awesome. But be prepared for things not always to be the way you think they're going to be. Because, when you're young, you think you know it all, right?
Right. Exactly. And on
Yeah.
the flip side of that, most rewarding for you thus far?
Oh boy, I think making it the stuff's great that I've gotten to do. Melding my work passion with my other passions for comedy and music. That stuff's awesome when I can have those two intersect. But I remember, and I talked about this before. I remember when I was a kid, I I loved waiting for Letterman to come on. Like I just what's Dave going to do tonight? Like what silly thing is he going to do? And I waited for the show and I was excited for it, and it brought joy to me. I knew I was going to laugh. And to know that I'm now doing that for people on some level, because we've had people say, "Oh, I loved what you did this. I can't wait to see what you have coming up." Knowing that you're having a positive impact on people's lives, even just for an hour, or even if they tune in for like 10 minutes and they catch a one-liner I make or a stunt that I do, knowing that you've just made somebody smile or made them laugh or given them some joy or entertained them in some way, that above all else is really, I think, the most rewarding thing. Yes, like doing for me, doing what I love is amazing. I always wanted to be a talk show host, and I am one and a performer. But knowing that you bring some joy to people is very special and something I don't take lightly. I take the show seriously because I want it to be great. And I want people to enjoy it.
And you're a Rhode Island native, Riverside specifically, right?
I'm originally from Warren.
Warren. Okay, that's right. So, when it comes to Rhode Island and being a Rhode Islander, it's such a small state, obviously, but there's such a special feel here. And you don't a lot of people look at it from the outside. It's just Rhode Island. It's so small. But, for the viewers that aren't from this area, why don't you just tell them some of the cool things about Rhode Island and being a Rhode Islander?
Yeah, I mean, shoplifting here is legal.
It's big. Yeah.
I'm just being an idiot. I was having this conversation the other day. I told you how I love going to Metallica shows. My friends and I've met a lot of my friends through going to shows. A lot of my friends around the world. We've seen them so many times, and in the past, we've kind of planned trips around going to the show and seeing a new city. Well, they played Gillette last summer, I believe, or the summer before. Can't remember which one now. But the reason I invoke this is because a couple of my friends are from Calgary, Alberta, Bret Hart country, of course. And Joe, had the best time in Rhode Island. And they were like, we love it here. You have everything. They were like, the city is here. The beach is 10 minutes that way. They were so blown away by how much we had that was within an arm's reach, so to speak. They just couldn't believe the beauty of the beach, the fun, charming uniqueness of the city, and everything in between. And I think that's so magical when you think about Rhode Island. That's one of the most magical things about it. We really have it all, and it's such a unique place, and there's just no other place like it. And I mean, it's just I would put our show up against any show. I think it's just, point being is you can operate anywhere. You can operate here, do what it is you do, and still make a nice life and career for yourself. And I think Rhode Island's one of those great hidden gems. Come hang out, enjoy the beach, and hey, maybe we'll have you on the road show.
Exactly. Yes. So, when it comes to specifically, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm going to edit this part out because there's a loud. Can you hear that?
Yeah, those are my fans.
Oh, okay. They've been building out there for quite some time.
Yeah,
There's a
both of them are
construction
out
truck
there.
or something going by.
That's all right.
Sorry. We get right back into it. All right. So when we talked about interviews that you've done and some of the great experiences there, but what are some of the other experiences that television specifically has awarded you over the years?
Well, I discovered I really like wearing makeup.
Very nice.
I don't know. I think it's all about connections. One of the great joys of the road show is getting to know local business owners and getting to become friends with them. I was doing an interview once and they were asking about the show. And I said, well, if there's a new restaurant, we want to know about it. If there's a new place that's doing whatever, we want to know about those charming and unique opportunities. So I think the connections that it has allowed me to make are also big as well, because it's a business entity, right? But you're meeting the business leaders across the state. You're meeting prominent individuals, and maybe you'll be working with them down the line. So I think it's also helped to foster a lot of professional networking and connections for me as well. And it's kind of strange in this era with television, right? It's like it's not the dominant medium that it was, but it's still pretty impressive, and it still has quite a reach. Social's great, and people doing their own thing is great, but I think there's something still kind of special about what we're doing on traditional TV. And I think just because the audience is not the same as it may have been 10, 20 years ago, it doesn't mean we still can't make a great show, and it doesn't mean we don't have one. So I think it's kind of opened the door to connections and just a renewed appreciation for what we do as well, especially as the climate changes.
And obviously, you're still a big part of the road show, but what are some of your other goals? What is next for Brendan Kirby?
I'd love to be a nude model.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, with the Sears catalog no longer available, it's tough. Yeah.
I don't know. I like. I'm not really sure. I've been, doing this for I mean, this is my main pursuit. But I'm always open to other forms of work and earning. I love working with people on various projects. I love writing. I'm, there might be another book in me. You never know. But
Very nice.
projects like that, I have some long term goals which will hopefully see the light of day eventually. But nothing pressing at the moment. That's like, oh, I got to do this. But I just want to keep putting on a great show every day. I mean, look, I want Seinfeld on the road show. I want Letterman on. And we got members of Metallica, so why couldn't I get those guys? Like, I'm always about what are we going to do next. And in terms of my own challenges, I mean, I just want to keep learning, building, and growing. I want to get better at the guitar. But I don't know right now concretely if I could say, oh, I definitely want to do this. I'm not looking to enter, the Daytona 500 next year or anything like that. But
Right.
I just want to keep being like the best version of myself as I can within whatever framework I'm dealing.
You mentioned Jerry Seinfeld. That was actually my next question. If you could pick 3 guests that will appear on the road show, you're the one to interview them, who would it be? No restrictions. Anybody can be on.
David Letterman, Jerry Seinfeld. Uh, uh, the last one's. This is tough. This is tough. So many people that have influenced me. See, I want to say Larry David because I love him, but I could ask Jerry about the Seinfeld stuff, but I couldn't ask Jerry about the Curb Your Enthusiasm stuff, and that's
Right.
another one of my favorite shows. This is amazing because I've already gotten James Hetfield, right? How cool is that? Because normally that would. Oh, here we go. Jerry Seinfeld, David Letterman, Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce. All right. All
I'm a
right.
big Springsteen fan as well.
Yeah. What a
And
trio.
I love Howard Stern, but he would never do it because he didn't do anything. So I'm leaving him
Yeah.
off.
Well, never say never. No, you never know.
Conan would be amazing too. I love Conan. Like, he was informative. And I did get to interview Jay Leno. I mean, I forgot that earlier, which was great. So it's amazing what can be done, and it's just crazy sometimes to think about what I've been able to do. And you as well, Joe. You've interviewed a lot of famous people, and I'm sure you've got quite the library. Do you ever just sit back and think, "Wow, I got to talk to that person"?
Oh man, sometimes it doesn't settle in until maybe just a couple interviews later because I'm just going nonstop, and you know how that is. But yeah, when you actually smell the flowers for a little while, it's like wow, I actually I did that, and it's I'm just grateful to have done any interviews because it is my passion, like I said. But yeah, some of the people, it's just amazing. It's been what a ride, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's nice to take some time every now and then to just reflect and just give yourself a little bit of a Barry Horowitz pat on the back.
Yes. And in closing, fast forward many years from now, you look back at your career as a whole. What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Mostly for my awkward silences. I think that's. I hope that if I'm having an impact on someone right now who's 30 or whatever, I just hope that they would you know see me the same way I saw those people that brought light into my life. Like, oh yeah, I used to watch him on that. He would always make me laugh. I just want to be someone who entertains people. I just want to bring some joy and laughs to people through creativity, through humor, through energy. To put that positive energy out there. And like I said, I'm not always the most positive. I can be quite the misanthropic individual, and I think that's where a lot of good comedy comes from sometimes, which is also good. But overall, I just hope people see me as someone who brought them some laughs and some entertainment and some joy.
Absolutely. Well, Brendan, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate it. It's been a blast.
It's my pleasure, Joe. And hey, I meant to tell you, if I sit like this, it appears as though I'm wearing a hoop earring.
Yes, it does. All right. Very nice.
All kidding aside, thank you so much. I think the world of you. You work so hard. I wish you continued good luck with this and all of your pursuits. And I really admire your work ethic and all the good things you do for the community as well.
Well, thank you, Brendan. Appreciate that. That means a lot. And would love to have you back, assuming no restraining orders or anything at that point. Yeah,
I'll keep you posted.
absolutely. For the great Brendan Kirby, I'm Joseph Bruen, and this has been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. So don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your comments. Love to hear from you, the fans, what you thought of this episode, and what you'd like to see on the next one. We'll see you next time.
And that's the bottom line.